The Great Hall of Justice was silent. Tall alien warriors in black armor stood like statues. Their glowing eyes followed every movement. The air felt heavy, filled with fear and expectation. At the center of the hall stood one young alien woman. Her name was Serana. She was proud. She was a warrior's daughter. Her silver skin shone under the cold light, and her golden eyes burned with fire. Chains wrapped around her wrists, but her spirit was not broken. She lifted her head high and glared at the council above her. The judge, an old alien with a scar across his cheek, rose slowly. His voice was deep, echoing across the chamber. "Serana of the high bloodline," he declared, "you are guilty of defiance. You attacked the council guards. You rejected the peace order. By our laws, your punishment must be decided." The crowd whispered. Some looked at her with pity, others with hate. Serana clenched her jaw. She would not beg. She would not cry. She was ready for death. But death was not given. The judge raised his hand. "You are condemned to marry a human." The words crashed through the hall like thunder. Gasps filled the air. Some aliens laughed cruelly. Others looked horrified. Marry a human? To them it was worse than death. Humans were weak. Humans were outsiders. Humans were nothing. Serana's face froze. For the first time, her eyes widened. She had prepared herself for execution, for exile, even for torture. But this was shame. This was dishonor. The heavy doors of the hall opened. With a slow groan, all eyes turned. A figure walked in. He was tall, dressed in plain dark clothing. His steps were steady, almost too calm for someone walking into an alien court. His skin was pale compared to theirs, his hair dark, his eyes deep brown. "A human." The aliens hissed. Some turned their heads in disgust, others laughed louder, mocking. But the human did not stop. He walked straight to the center of the hall, standing beside Serana as if he belonged there. The judge's voice cut the whispers. "This human is named Elias. He has agreed to the sentence. From this day, you are bound. You will live together. You will obey the law, and your bond will stand as punishment." Serana's chest burned with rage. Her hands shook against the chains. Agreed? This man had agreed? Did he even know what it meant to be married to her people? To be tied to their blood? She turned her head sharply and looked at him. Her golden eyes tried to cut into his soul, but Elias did not look away. He only met her gaze, calm and unshaken. That calmness unsettled her more than anger would have. The chains around her wrists fell to the floor with a heavy clang. The guards stepped back. The judgment was final. The crowd began to leave, still whispering, still mocking. But Serana stood frozen, her body tense like a drawn bow. Elias looked at her once more, then spoke softly, his voice steady but low. "It seems," he said, "our lives have just changed." His words were simple. Too simple. No apology. No fear. Just a quiet truth. Serana wanted to spit in his face. She wanted to scream that she would never accept this shame. But something stopped her. A strange weight in the air. The way his voice carried, not weak, not trembling. No human should stand so calm in a hall of enemies. The guards moved them out of the chamber, pushing them into a dark corridor. The sound of the heavy doors closing behind them echoed like a final seal. Alone with him now. Serana finally hissed, her voice sharp like a blade. "I do not want this. You are nothing to me. Do you understand? Nothing." Elias looked at her, his expression unreadable. Then, slowly, he gave a small nod. "Nothing," he repeated, almost like he agreed. But then his eyes locked on hers again. And in that look, there was something else. Something unspoken. Serana felt her chest tighten. Just for a second, she hated it. She hated him. Or maybe she feared him. The corridor opened into the outer streets. Alien lights glowed across the city, tall towers stretching into the sky. The people outside saw them walking together, the proud alien woman and the strange human. Whispers began to rise again, pointing fingers. Laughter. Serana clenched her fists. This was worse than death. Every step felt like fire on her pride. And Elias. He only walked forward, calm, unbroken, silent, as if this was his world, not hers. For the first time in her life, Serana felt a strange, dark thought whisper inside her mind. What if this human is not what he seems? The night air grew colder, and in that silence the punishment felt less like an end, and more like the beginning of something far greater. The night was cold. Alien moons hung in the sky like pale eyes, watching everything below. In a high chamber of the palace, Serana sat stiffly on a chair. Her golden eyes burned with anger as she looked at the man who now shared her space. Elias, the human, stood by the window. He was quiet, almost too quiet. His hand rested on the cold metal frame as he looked out at the endless city lights. This was supposed to be her wedding night, but there were no songs, no laughter, no joy, only silence, only shame. Serana's voice cut through the room like a blade. Do not think this means anything. You may share this chamber, but you will never share my life. You are nothing but my punishment. Elias did not turn. His voice came low, calm. I understand. Those two words made her blood boil. He understood nothing. He could never understand what it meant for her people to see her tied to him. She stood quickly, stepping closer, her long cloak brushing against the floor. You should fear me, she hissed. I could end you with one strike. For the first time, Elias turned to face her. His dark eyes met hers, and they were not filled with fear. Not even a trace. That may be true, he said quietly. But you haven't. The simple answer unsettled her. Why had she not struck him? Why had she not ended this insult the moment the chains were removed? She had no answer, and that made her furious. The silence stretched. Then slowly, Elias walked toward her. His steps were calm, steady, each one echoing in the chamber. Serana did not move. She was too proud to step back. She stood firm even as her chest tightened. He stopped just before her, close enough that she could see the strange lines of his face, the softness of human skin. Her people called humans weak, fragile. But standing this close, she felt something else. His hand lifted. Slowly, carefully. Serana's heart pounded. Do not touch me, she warned. Her voice was sharp, but her body refused to move. Elias reached out. His fingers brushed against her wrist. And then, it happened. A spark shot through her skin. It was not pain. It was not heat. It was something alive. A rush of energy surged into her arm, spreading through her chest, racing into her mind. Her breath caught. Her golden eyes widened in shock. Visions burst in her head. Flashes of fire, stars collapsing, shadows of war. And in the center of it all, she saw him. Elias, standing in the storm of light, unbroken. Her knees almost gave way. She pulled back suddenly, clutching her wrist as if burned. What did you do? Elias looked at his hand, then at her. His face was calm, but his eyes were not. For the first time, she saw something else in them. A depth, a secret. I didn't do anything, he said softly. You felt it too. Her mind raced. No alien touch had ever done this. No bond had ever created such force. It was impossible. Humans were supposed to be powerless. She shook her head. This is a trick, some poison, some curse. But deep down, she knew it was not. That spark had not been death. It had been connection, a bond so strong it terrified her. Elias stepped back slowly, giving her space. Maybe this punishment is not what it seems, he murmured. Serana's anger returned like fire, but beneath, it was fear. She did not want to admit the truth, that in that one touch she had felt something she could not explain. The night stretched on. She refused to sleep. She sat in the corner watching him, waiting for weakness. for some proof that he was only human. But he did not falter. He simply closed his eyes and rested, as if nothing had happened. When the dawn came, Serana was more restless than ever. The spark still lingered in her veins, like a shadow she could not chase away. As they stepped out into the palace corridors, whispers followed them. Aliens pointed, laughed, mocked. Serana held her head high, pretending the shame did not touch her. But her thoughts were not on them. They were on Elias, on the touch, on the strange vision of him standing in fire, unbroken. She told herself it was only fear. She told herself it was only her imagination. But in the deepest part of her mind, a single question grew louder and louder. What is he? And for the first time, Serana felt something even stronger than hate. Suspicion. The palace grew quiet at night. The laughter of the alien courtiers faded and the mocking whispers of the day finally died down. Shadows stretched across the halls and the cold moons poured pale light through tall windows. Serana lay awake on her bed. Her golden eyes stared at the ceiling, but her mind was far away. The spark from the night before still haunted her. She could feel it under her skin like fire that refused to burn out. Every time she thought of Elias's hand on her wrist, her chest tightened. She hated it. She hated him. Yet her thoughts kept circling back. She turned her head. Across the chamber, Elias sat on the floor near the window. He had not asked for the bed. He had not complained. He simply sat there silent, still like a statue. But then, she heard something. A whisper. At first, she thought it was only the wind slipping through the stones. But then she heard it again, soft, steady, in a language she did not know. Elias's lips moved in the moonlight. His voice was quiet, low, almost like prayer. Serana froze. She strained her ears. The words were strange, sharp, filled with rhythm, almost like code. His eyes were closed, but faint light flickered in them, brown turning to a glow she had never seen before. A shiver ran through her. She rose silently from the bed, moving like a hunter. Her bare feet touched the cold floor as she crept closer. She stopped just behind him, her shadow falling over his back. "Who are you talking to?" she whispered. Elias did not jump. He did not flinch. Slowly he opened his eyes, and the faint glow vanished. He looked back at her, calm as ever. "No one," he said softly. Her anger boiled. "Do not lie to me. I heard your words. I saw your eyes. Humans do not glow." He tilted his head slightly, studying her. "And aliens do not feel fire when touched by humans. Yet you did." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. His calmness unsettled her again more than anger or fear ever could. She crossed her arms, trying to hide her unease. "If you are cursed, I will find it. If you are a spy, I will expose you. Do not think you can fool me." Elias only gave a small nod, as if her threat meant little. Then he turned his face back to the window. Serana stared at him for a long time. The calmness, the secrets, the strange spark, they gnawed at her pride. For her people, humans were supposed to be weak. Yet nothing about this man felt weak. She returned to her bed, but sleep never came. Morning arrived with a call to the great dining hall. The nobles of her people gathered for the feast. Serana walked beside Elias, their steps echoing through the golden corridors. Everywhere they went, eyes followed. Whispers chased them. "There she is, the cursed one, married to dirt. Her bloodline is broken." Serana held her head high, her face cold and proud. But inside, her fury burned. At the long table, the council members sat in rows. Food filled the golden plates, but the air was heavy with disdain. Serana sat stiffly, Elias beside her. The mocking eyes of the nobles never left them. A noblewoman leaned across the table, her smile sharp as a blade. "Tell us, human," she said in a loud voice. "Do you even know how to eat our food? Or do you still gnaw on roots and dirt as your kind does?" Laughter filled the hall. Serana's jaw tightened. Elias looked at the woman. His face remained calm, but his eyes held a shadow. He reached out, picked up one of the alien fruits, poisonous to humans, and calmly sliced it with the silver blade. He lifted a piece, placed it in his mouth, and chewed slowly. Gasps echoed. Serana's eyes widened. That fruit was deadly even, to some alien bloodlines. No human should survive it. But Elias swallowed, his face unchanged. Tastes bitter, he said simply. The hall fell silent. The nobles looked at one another in unease. For the first time there was no laughter. Serana stared at him, her heart racing. This was not possible. No human could do this. And yet, he had. After the feast, as they walked back to their chamber, Serana finally stopped him. Her voice was sharp, but her eyes betrayed her fear. "What are you?" she demanded. Elias looked at her quietly. For a long moment he did not answer. Then he spoke softly, almost like before. "Maybe," he said, "I am your punishment. Or maybe I am something far worse." The words chilled her. That night when the moons rose again, Serana did not sleep. She lay awake watching him, waiting for answers. But Elias only sat by the window once more, silent and still. And in the silence, Serana realized the truth. She was no longer only ashamed of him. She was afraid of him. The royal feast hall glittered, with gold and firelight. Long tables stretched across the chamber filled with nobles in shining robes. Servants moved quickly, carrying platters of strange alien foods, their steps careful, their eyes lowered. At the center table, Serana sat with her head high, trying to look unshaken. Elias sat beside her, calm as always. The mocking eyes of the court pierced her skin. Every whisper felt like a blade. The cursed bride. She brought a human into the hall. She should have been executed, not bound. Serana ignored them, or tried to. Her chest burned with fury. The king, her uncle, raised his cup. His voice boomed across the hall. "Tonight, we celebrate peace. Tonight, we celebrate judgment. The law has spoken, and punishment has been given." His gaze slid to Serana and Elias. His smile was thin, sharp. "Let us eat." Laughter rose. Cups clashed. The feast began. Serana's hands tightened around her cup. She hated every second of this show. But then, she noticed something. The servants. They moved strangely. Their steps were too stiff to exact. Their eyes flickered with something more than fear. One servant passed near her, holding a silver tray. Serana caught a glimpse of a knife hidden under the cloth. Her eyes narrowed. Danger. She opened her mouth to speak, but before the warning left her lips, it happened. The servant dropped the tray. A flash of steel burst from under the cloth. The hall exploded in chaos. Knives flew, cups shattered. Several servants lunged, their robes falling away to reveal armor beneath. Assassins. The nobles screamed and ducked under the tables. Guards rushed forward, weapons drawn. Serana leapt to her feet, her golden eyes blazing. She reached for a weapon, but before she could strike, one of the assassins threw a blade directly at her chest. The world slowed. She felt the air cut. She knew she could not move fast enough. But Elias did. He stepped in front of her. The blade struck his shoulder. Serana gasped. Blood spread across his dark shirt, but Elias did not fall. He did not even cry out. His hand shot out, grabbing the assassin by the throat. With a single motion, faster than any human should move, he slammed the attacker into the table. The wooden surface cracked. Gasps echoed across the hall. Another assassin charged. Elias twisted, using the dead man's knife, a flash of steel. The attacker collapsed, throat cut. The hall froze for a heartbeat. And then Elias kept moving. His body flowed like water, each strike precise, each motion filled with power no human should have. In moments, 3 assassins lay dead around him. The last one tried to run, but Elias caught him by the arm. He twisted. Bones snapped. The assassin screamed before Elias threw him across the hall like he weighed nothing. Silence fell. The nobles stared, horrified. The assassins were dead. The guards stood frozen, their weapons still raised but useless now. Elias stood in the middle of the bodies, his shirt torn and blood-soaked, but his face calm, his breathing steady. Serana could not speak. Her heart pounded in her chest. This was no weak human. This was something else. Her uncle, the king, rose slowly. His eyes burned with suspicion. "What are you?" The question echoed across the hall. Elias did not answer. He only turned his head slightly, looking at Serana. Her golden eyes met his. For a moment, the hall disappeared. It was only the two of them, the memory of the spark still alive between their skins. She should have felt only relief that he saved her, but instead her stomach twisted with unease. The king's voice broke the silence again, louder this time. "No human has such power. No human survives such poison. No human slays assassins like this. He is a danger." The nobles shouted in agreement. "Kill him now! End the curse!" Guards surrounded the hall, their weapons aimed at Elias. Serana's breath caught. She had spent days hating him, fearing him, but now she realized the truth. If they struck, he would not go down easily. The hall would be painted in blood. And deep in her chest, something she never wanted to admit, burned stronger. She did not want him to die. She stood quickly. Her cloak swept the floor as she placed herself between Elias and the guards. "Enough!" she shouted, her voice sharp as thunder. "He is under law. He is under bond. If you strike him, you strike me." The hall froze again. Her uncle's face twisted with anger, but Serana's golden eyes did not waver. Slowly, the guards lowered their weapons. But the damage was done. Whispers filled the hall, darker than before. "The cursed bride protects him. She shields the human. She has betrayed her own blood." Serana clenched her fists. She could feel their hatred, their scorn, and for the first time she did not care. Because in her heart, a dangerous question echoed again. What if this human is not a punishment, but a weapon? The council chamber was colder than ice. Tall black pillars rose toward the ceiling, glowing faintly with alien runes. Shadows pressed in on the walls, as if the whole room itself wanted to crush those inside. Serana stood at the center. Elias stood beside her, calm as always, his dark eyes scanning the faces of the council. Around them sat the elders robed in crimson, their voices already sharp with anger. One elder slammed his staff on the floor. "This cannot continue. The human is a danger. You saw what he did in the feast hall. He is no weak outsider. He is a weapon we cannot control," another elder hissed. "His existence breaks our law. The girl is cursed. Their bond is poison. End it now before it destroys us all." Serana's jaw tightened. Her golden eyes burned with defiance. "He saved. You call that poison?" "Silence!" The king roared from his high seat. His crown glowed faintly under the chamber light. His eyes, sharp as knives, pinned her down. "You shame this council every time you speak. Do you not see? The world whispers of us now. Our enemies call us weak. They call us broken. All because of you and the human at your side." Serana's chest burned. Every word cut deep, but she did not step back. "Then let them whisper. Without him, I would be dead. Without him, you would all be dead." The king rose to his feet, his voice thundered. "Do not defend him. You think his strength is a gift? It is a curse. It is the seed of war." The words fell heavy, and then another sound joined them. The sound of the war horn. It shook the walls, echoing across the city. The chamber doors burst open. A guard rushed in, breathless, his armor scratched. "My king! The Outer Empire has sent word. They demand the human be given to them. They demand the cursed bride be executed. If we refuse, they will march with fire. The chamber filled with gasps. The elders shouted all at once, their voices crashing like a storm. War! They will burn us. Give them the human. Hand over the traitor. Serana's blood ran cold. The Outer Empire, their oldest enemies. Ruthless, merciless. They would not bluff. If they marched, it would mean death for thousands. The king raised his hand. The chamber fell silent again. His voice was iron. Then it is decided. We will hand them both over. The council will vote, but the choice is clear. Sacrifice 2 to save thousands. Serana's chest tightened. She could not breathe. Her hands shook at her sides, but her voice still cut through the chamber. You would hand me to our enemies? Your own blood? The king's eyes were cold. Better you than all of us. Her world tilted. The walls pressed closer. For the first time in her life, Serana felt truly abandoned. Not just mocked, not just shamed, but cast aside like dirt. Beside her, Elias finally spoke. His calm voice carried strangely across the chamber. Do you truly think handing us over will save you? The elders turned their eyes to him, sneering. One spat. You are nothing. Do not speak where you do not belong. But Elias's gaze did not waver. His voice was steady, sharp. They fear me. That is why they demand me. If you give me to them, they will not stop. They will only grow bolder. They will come for all of you next. The words struck the chamber like lightning. Some elders shifted uneasily. The king's face hardened. You speak as if you know their hearts, the king growled. Elias's dark eyes flickered with something unspoken. I know enough. Serana turned her head sharply toward him. Once again she saw that shadow in his gaze. That secret he never spoke. The spark between them burned in her chest again, whispering of things she did not understand. The king slammed his staff down. Enough! The vote will be taken. Guards, prepare them both for transfer. The armored soldiers stepped forward. Serana's rage boiled over. No, I will not be handed like a prize. Her golden eyes blazed as she stepped in front of Elias. If you strike him, you strike me. If you give us away, then you will have no daughter of the high bloodline left. The king's face twisted. Then so be it. The guards moved closer. The chamber grew tense, ready to explode. And then in the chaos, Elias leaned close to Serana. His voice was low, only for her. We cannot stay. Tonight, we leave. Her breath caught. Leave? There is no escape from this city. But his eyes told a different story. Calm, certain, as if he had already planned everything. She looked at him, searching his face for weakness, for fear. But there was none. Only quiet strength. And for the first time, Serana felt something dangerous grow in her chest. Trust. The night was thick with shadows. The palace slept, but Serana did not. She walked silently through the secret corridors, her cloak brushing against the stone. Elias moved beside her, his steps light, his eyes sharp, as if he knew every corner already. They had escaped the guards, for now, but the city was closing around them. By dawn, the council would know they were gone. Where are we going? Serana whispered, her voice tense. Elias's answer was quiet, calm as always. To the caves beneath the old mountains. There are things you must see. Her heart pounded. He spoke with certainty, as if he had walked this path before, as if the secrets of her own world were already his. Hours later, the city lights were far behind them. The mountains rose high, black against the alien moons. The wind cut sharp across the rocks. Elias led her to a hidden entrance. Ancient stones sealed the cave, but his hands found the way, pressing against the cracks until the wall shifted open. A cold breath of air whispered out, smelling of dust and age. Serana stepped inside, her golden eyes glowing faintly in the dark. The cave stretched deep, walls covered in strange carvings, symbols of stars, battles, and beings she did not recognize. She froze. Her voice trembled. These are not ours. Elias lit a torch, the flame dancing across the walls. No, they are older than your empire, older than your laws. She stepped closer, her fingers brushing the carvings, figures of her people, carved in flowing lines. Beside them, figures of humans, standing together, fighting side by side. Her chest tightened. Impossible. Humans were never here. They were never part of this world. Elias's eyes reflected the flame. Your people forgot, or chose to forget, but long ago humans and your kind stood together. A bond was made, a prophecy left behind. He raised the torch higher, and Serana saw the words carved above the figures. She could not read them, but somehow her mind understood. When the fire passes from one to another, when touch becomes spark, the bond will awaken. The two shall rise against the storm, or the world shall fall in ruin. Serana's breath caught. Her hands shook as she traced the prophecy. She thought of the night he touched her wrist, the fire that raced through her veins, the visions. Her voice was barely a whisper. The spark. Elias looked at her. It was never punishment, Serana. It was destiny. Her knees weakened. She leaned against the stone, her chest heavy with fear. No, this cannot be true. My people said humans were weak, that you were nothing. Elias's voice grew harder. And yet here I stand. And you felt it too. You saw what lies ahead. The visions flashed again in her mind, fire, war, destruction, and him standing unbroken in the storm. Tears burned her golden eyes, but she forced them back. Why me? Why now? His voice softened. Because you were chosen. Because your people feared the prophecy. They tried to bury it, to silence it, but fate brought us together. The weight of his words crushed her. For so long she had hated him, feared him, seen him as shame. But now she saw something far greater, something terrifying. She turned to him, her voice shaking. If this is true, then war is coming, and we are the only ones who can stop it. Before Elias could answer, the sound of footsteps echoed through the cave. Shadows moved at the entrance. Serana's blood ran cold. Soldiers poured in, their armor glowing under the torchlight. At their front stood her cousin, a noble warrior, his face twisted with hatred. You dare hide in forbidden caves? He spat. You betray your people with this human. You dishonor your bloodline. Serana stepped forward, her heart racing but her voice firm. You are blind. You do not know the truth. Her cousin sneered. The only truth is this. Your bond is a curse, and I will end it now. He raised his blade. The soldiers advanced. Elias moved in front of Serana, his calm face turning hard, his body ready to strike, but Serana grabbed his arm, shaking her head. No, she whispered. Her golden eyes blazed. This is my fight. She stepped forward, raising her own weapon from the cave wall, an ancient blade left by those before. Its surface glowed faintly as her hand touched it, as if it recognized her. The soldiers hesitated, their eyes widening. The blade pulsed with light. And in that moment, Serana felt it. The spark, the bond, the fire inside her. Stronger than ever. Her cousin's face twisted with fear. What have you done? Serana lifted the blade high. Her voice thundered through the cave. I have seen the truth, and I will not be your shame. I will be your storm. The soldiers stepped back, shaken. Elias stood behind her, his eyes steady, almost proud. For the first time, Serana did not feel alone. The prophecy had awakened. And war was no longer a distant threat. It had already begun. The sky burned red with fire. War horns screamed across the alien city as the outer empire marched. Their ships hovered above, casting shadows that swallowed the towers below. The ground trembled as armies clashed at the gates. Inside the great walls, panic spread. Nobles fled into their halls, guards shouted orders, and the council broke into chaos. But Serana did not run. She stood on the highest balcony, the ancient blade in her hand glowing with power. Elias stood beside her, calm even as the world shook. "This is the moment," he said softly. The prophecy was never about punishment. It was about this choice, about us. Serana's golden eyes burned. She had fought her cousin, defied her king, uncovered the forgotten truth. And now the storm was here. But fear gripped her heart. She turned to Elias. "Tell me what you are. No more secrets. If we fight together, I must know." Elias looked at her for a long moment. Then he spoke. "I am human, but not as your people believe. My blood was changed long ago, when humans and your kind fought side by side. The bond still lives in me. That is why I was chosen." Serana's chest tightened. She remembered the spark when he touched her, the visions of fire and war. It had not been accident. It had been destiny. The gates below shattered. The enemy stormed into the city, their black banners tearing through the smoke. Screams rose. Elias stepped forward, his voice steady. "The bond will awaken only if we stand together. If you reject me now, your world will fall." Serana's heart pounded. She looked at him, this strange man who had been called her punishment, her shame, her curse. And yet, he was the only one who had never broken, never wavered, never left her side. She lifted the blade high. "Then let them see. I will not fight against you. I will fight with you." The bond surged to life. The spark exploded through their bodies, brighter than fire. Serana gasped as light poured from her skin, her golden eyes blazing like suns. Elias's hands glowed, energy rushing through him, stronger than steel. The cave's prophecy whispered in her mind again. Two shall rise against the storm. And together they did. The battlefield erupted as Serana and Elias descended into the fight. Soldiers froze as light blazed around them. Arrows shattered in the air before reaching them. Blades bent against their skin. Serana's voice rang like thunder. "No more chains, no more lies. This is our stand." Her blade sliced through enemy ranks, each strike bursting with energy. Elias moved beside her, his motions too fast, too precise for any human. Together they carved through the enemy like storm and fire. But the outer empire had prepared. A massive war beast emerged, covered in black armor, its roar shaking the city. It charged forward, crushing soldiers beneath its claws. The alien army cheered, certain the monster would destroy them. Elias stepped forward. Blood ran from his wounds, but his face was steady. "Stay behind me," he told her. But Serana grabbed his arm. "No, we do this together." The beast roared again, rushing toward them. Elias raised his hands, light exploding from his skin. Serana lifted the ancient blade, its glow fusing with his power. The bond between them pulsed, stronger than ever. When the beast struck, they struck back. The explosion lit the battlefield like a new sun. The beast collapsed with a final roar, its armor shattered, its body burned. Silence fell for a heartbeat. Then, slowly, the enemy army began to fall back. Fear spread through their ranks. Whispers rose. The prophecy. It is true. The outer empire fled. The city gates stood open, but the invaders were gone. The battlefield was quiet now, filled only with smoke and broken weapons. Serana stood beside Elias, her chest heaving, her blade still glowing faintly. She turned to him. His face was pale, blood staining his shirt, but his eyes still burned with life. "You bleed," she whispered, her voice shaking. "You bleed like us." Elias gave a small, tired smile. "I told you, I am human." Tears stung her eyes. She had spent so long hating him, fearing him, but now she knew the truth. He was not her punishment. He was her bond, her salvation. She lowered her blade and stepped closer, her hand trembling as it reached for his. Their fingers touched, and once again the spark surged, but now it was no longer strange, no longer terrifying. It was theirs. Behind them, her people watched in silence, some with fear, some with awe. The prophecy had come alive before their eyes. Sarana lifted her head high, her voice strong. You called him curse, you called him nothing. But today you saw the truth. Together we are not your shame. We are your future. No one dared to answer. The silence itself was surrender. As the suns began to rise, Sarana and Elias stood on the walls, looking out at the smoking horizon. The war was not finished. New battles would come. But the bond was alive. The prophecy was awake. And in her heart, Sarana knew one truth she could no longer deny. She had been condemned to wed a human as punishment. But his first touch had changed everything.